In order to create the outline, we're going to use another helper spline. First of all, I'm going to clean up my object manager a little bit, and I'm also going to switch off the reference image for now. And next I'm going to put the object axis of this spline to the point at the top here. So let's go to model mode and bring up axis center. We have to move the axis all the way to the top and all the way over to the left. And by doing that, we're not putting the axis exactly on the point, and the reason is because this point has two tangents and Cinema4D will put the object axis at the end of this tangent here. So what I'm going to do in order to fix that is I'm going to enable axis, switch on snapping, and I'm going to move the object axis over and snap it to that top point. Now we can make a copy and rotate this copy minus 180 degrees. And let's connect both of these splines. And I'm going to weld the points at the top. So this is our gap spline. I'm going to make a copy of this spline and call this helper gap. And what I'll do with this spline is I'm going to select all the points and I'm going to right click and use subdivide. Let's click on the options to bring up this window here, and I'm going to use 8 subdivisions. Let's create a lot of points, and by creating so many points we will get a very even outline. So let's create an outline for this spline, and 5 is a bit wide and also it's going in the wrong direction, so I'm going to undo and let's do something like -3 for the distance. Also, I'm going to change the color for this spline, and let's do something that we can really see very well, like bright yellow. Okay, so let's select our other gap spline and let's go to point mode, and I'm going to use create outline again, and also I'm going to do a distance of -3, and you can see that doesn't work. The outline is created in the other direction, so I have to go back a step and enter +3 for the distance instead. And you can already see that in most areas our gap spline is perfectly following the lines on the helper spline. It's just a few areas down here and up here that we need to tweak. So first of all, I'm going to select this point here at the top, and we can simply scale this a little bit and try to line it up with the lines on the helper spline. Down here I'm going to select these 2 points and I'm going to use the pen tool, make sure lock tangent rotation is switched on, and we're going to drag these tangents back just a little bit. So maybe I could drag this one back just a little bit further. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now if we put this in an extrude object, you can see we're getting a nice and even outline. And over here you can see that this area is a bit wider than over here. Okay, so that's perfect. Let's make the helper spline invisible. I'm going to delete this extrude object, and on our finished gap spline I'm going to select these points over here, disconnect them and delete them. I'm going to delete these 2 points. Let's make sure that these 2 points are at 0 on the x-axis, which they are. And now we can make a copy of this spline, go back to model mode and rotate the copy, and then combine these 2 splines And I'm going to weld these 2 points up here and then close our spline. Now, in order to be able to connect all the copies of this gap spline, we need the spline to be open at this end and also at this end over here. If I uncheck close spline, we still have the opening up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this point here and set it as the first point. So we're getting an opening here. And in order to get the opening at this end here, I'm going to use the knife tool, make a cut here, select this point and disconnect it, select this point again. We now have 3 points and we need to delete all of these. So now we have an open end on the right and on the left, and that will make it much easier later on to combine the individual gap splines. Now let's go to model mode and bring up axis center again. I'm going to reset the parameters and hit execute. And this one will be our horizontal gap spline that's facing upwards. So I'm calling this H up, and I'm going to make a copy and call this H down. And let's rotate this 180 degrees. And I'm going to reset the axis to 0. And we're done. So these are the 2 templates, and in the next video we're going to create the rows for the puzzle pieces.